What's up, you guys? I don't think y'all have ever seen where I store my boat. If you could guess, yeah, I'm working on it again. But I wanted to do this intro a little bit different, a little bit special to say thanks. That last episode, for some reason, got hugely popular. Not only did we pass 1,000 subs, we got past 1,100. I've been talking a while about if I meet that mark, I'm going to do a lot more content. And that's exactly what I intend to do. I want to do some camping, I want to do some traveling, I want to do just a lot more stuff. I want to hopefully turn this into some kind of career eventually. So this is the first major step in that direction. Thank all of you for making that possible. If you like this content, of course, like and subscribe if you haven't already. But for this episode, I'm going to go right back to where I was for the last one. But you're going to see a simple lure change made all the difference in the day, and sometimes that's all it takes. So y'all enjoy, let's jump into it. Welcome back to another episode of Catchya Later. If you're new here, my name's Gibby, and if you've never watched the channel before, just the episode before this is right where I was. Now, I've actually been back here 2 more times. I know there's trout here. I know how to find them. So why am I fishing here? Well, pretty simple. My daughter had a stomach virus last night. I'm staying real close to the marina just in case I get that call that I gotta go back home. I started trying some top water. Didn't work out, got a few strikes, nothing major. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of drift around right here where I know the schoolies are and see if I get that call. If my daughter feels good enough to go to school, we'll probably make some runs trying to find some bigger trout. But we know what works. I'm gonna start right now with what does, and that is this Z-Man 4-inch swimmer. And it is a very simple technique. You really just have to find grass, and that's about it. So that's what we're gonna do. I have a pretty good understanding of where the grass is in this area, at least. Very interesting though, I'm having a really difficult time controlling my boat. And the current shouldn't be doing that much. You can see there's pretty much no wind to speak of, and it does feel like the tide is starting to rise where I am right here, but overall just kind of still water for the moment, and I think that may be one reason why we're not catching what I expected. We threw the Z-Man, which up until today was the golden ticket. Got nothing. Anyway, I'm gonna go with this Lost Coast shrimp imitation. It's by far my favorite shrimp imitation. You fish it kind of like a jerk bait. I've got it on a 1/8 ounce jig head. One reason for the switch is not just that I like the lure, but I needed something a little heavier. Feeling like I gotta make longer casts, or at least stop having to cast as hard as I can. Can't do that all day. Oh, there's one. Look at that. And that is what we're looking for, y'all. Immediately switch to this Lost Coast, and bam. A no doubter. Don't even have to measure. That is what we're here for. 16-incher going in the box. And that did not take long with that lure switch. Alright, well, after putting that fish in the box, I made way too much noise. So probably not going to catch any more in this spot. But this is the lure. It's a Lost Coast shrimp imitation. You can see it's pretty cut up. Caught maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 fish on it. It's on an 1/8 ounce matrix jig head. I could probably just switch to like a J hook or something with a Texas rig style weight and make this plastic last longer. But either way, it is by far my favorite shrimp imitation lure. You work it like a jerk bait, but it's got a diving action, so it darts and falls. And up until now, we've thrown, this is the 5th lure I think I've thrown today. We really hadn't figured out sort of a cadence or a rhythm that the fish were feeding on. And it only took maybe 2 or 3 casts with this to get it. But all right, so finally caught up. Oh, that was a huge hit. They're hitting it on the rise after it falls. Man, that was a huge hit. How did it not catch the hook? Doesn't even look like it touched the lure. I definitely messed up after landing that trout. I made a lot of noise. And that's probably why we didn't catch any more. But the pattern I've seen here, you find one, you'll find multiples. There's one. There's one. Alright, this is the lure. Looks like another keeper. I'll have to measure it. Oh yeah. That'll keep. Alright, 2 fish and 2 keepers. Well, I'm glad I still have some of this lure. Those of you watching the channel, you may not have heard of Lost Coast. It's a company run by a man named Joey. He reached out to me, I don't know, a couple months ago and asked me to try these lures out. And he gave me a good bit of them. And quite honestly, they've changed how I fish. I never fished with 4-inch. Oh golly, did you see my rod go down on that? Got me tangled. Anyway, there's one. That's a needlefish. Well, today only landed 2 fish. I only really had 2 true hits from both keepers. Now I will say though, I came out here 2 days ago in much different conditions. It was much rougher. And on my first cast I hooked up with what I think was actually a huge trout. Only saw it for a second and it got off. But I know there are some big ones here. I would be surprised if we caught it on this lure, but they normally don't feed on shrimp when they get 20 and above, but get it right in front of them and it looks enticing enough. There's one. Little one. This is what I've been finding here. Okay, so 2 keepers and 1 dink. I was very much expecting the opposite. I was really expecting maybe 20 or so dinks and 1 keeper. So my ratio is doing good. This bulkhead right in front of me is usually my sort of bracket. Yeah, I'm still learning Lake Pontchartrain, and to be honest, it's like any other body of water. I probably overthought it. Probably gave in to some of the hype. There's a lot of talk about how hard it is to fish here. I don't know that I buy into that anymore, at least. Not really it. But what I can say is, like every other area that I fish, the fish are going to be pretty stacked up, you know. You can fish anywhere and fish like I am right now, which is just keeping it moving and keeping the cast going. But I'm mentioning that because up to now I've used that bulkhead right there and the canal behind me as my brackets. There's one. Oh, I was talking to y'all and I didn't set them up. And the reason those became my brackets is not just because they're obvious visual indicators, but what I've noticed is the grass is thickest between those two, and so the structure for trout is just better between those two. Now, does that mean that this is the only place that has that in Lake Pontchartrain? Obviously not. So I wouldn't say like come here and do exactly what I'm doing and expect to have the exact same results as me. You might find your own area just like this. I just haven't yet. And I may have mentioned on the intro, I really need to stay close to the marina in case my daughter is still sick. So that's what we're doing. And luckily for me, we've already caught some keepers, so if we have to go in, we still caught enough. Have some fish tacos. Alright, so I've turned around from that bulkhead. We'll fish back. Oh, there's one. There's one. That's another little one. They're still fun though. Anyway, we'll fish back to our other bracket. And unless we catch some more keepers, we're just going to make a run. Love fishing this area though, not just because I'm catching fish, but because it is just crystal clear there. Water that you don't see often in Louisiana. It seems clear so far that this Lost Coast is the lure. Look at that. Maybe. Fighting like a keeper. Yeah, I think so. Well, we have found the lure they want. Nice. Oh, it just pooped all over me. Nope, not a keeper. Last year's keeper. Still got to adjust my eyes to that size. Alright, well, we had a bunch of hits. Felt kind of like another hit. And then nothing. And that's kind of how it's been today, although I do think in this case my shadow is the culprit. But alright, we gotta move on. Oh, there's one right there. Alright, right on the edge of the grass. Interesting. Never mind, we're not gonna move on. Oh, this is a nice one. Not sure what it is. It's still on. That's a little rat red. I was about to be like, man, this is a huge trout. Alright, nice. Good to see this here. Definitely unexpected, but a awesome surprise. No point in even measuring. Clearly not legal. Golly, that pumped it. All right, not a keeper though. I'll give it 3 more casts and then we're gonna, I guess, make a run. Gauging at the direction this boat behind me came from, they weren't catching trout that way. So I'm not sure where to go, but that's part of learning this water. Got him. Oh, I saw that. Too small. So I guess, if I don't catch any keeper between here and my bracket, which I can see out of the corner of my eye, we really should move to another spot. Caught a few. Oh, there's one. Oh. That was cool. But you can see these are all pretty little. Yeah, these are tiny trout. Look at that. And that's kind of what I was worried about with going to a shrimp imitation. The little schoolies love this shrimp. That was not a schoolie right there. There's one. Oh, he got off too. Man, I've lost the ability to set the hook. But it seems clear this Lost Coast is what they're into. Let's see if I can get any of them into my ice chest. There we go. Set the hook. Gotta let them run with it a little bit. Mainly because these are all too small to keep. Alright, so we're almost at my stopping point for this area anyway. I've mentioned it in this episode. I bracket myself, and my bracket here is the canal and this bulkhead. So I've just got to think about where to go next. We got our keepers early in the morning, and since then we haven't caught any more keepers. Had some borderlines, but really nothing worth riding home to, and the action's really not that good to spend all day here. It's good enough, if I wanted to spend literally all day, probably catch 100 trout and maybe 5 or 10 keepers, but I want keepers. So the question is just, do I go closer to Slidell, where there's going to be a ton of boats, or do I go closer to Mandeville, where there's going to be far fewer? I'm not really sure. That's part of learning this area. Oh, that hit on the rise. Interesting. Probably last year's keeper, and he absolutely swallowed it. Look at that. I hope it didn't go in its belly, but I think it did. Okay, hopefully that fish survives. I think it will. I don't think I got it enough to kill it. Boy, it completely inhaled that lure. So that one hit it on the rise. Whoa, look at that over there. Which is interesting, because if they're going to hit it on the rise, probably throw some jerk baits. There's a needlefish. Sometimes they hit hard, man. There's one. Let's see what this is. Oh, it was a nice trout. I was messing with my reel. And these trout are in shallow waters. Yes, it is another one. This is a smaller one. Well, maybe not. Man, looking at this one, it might be a keeper. That other one was much bigger. More than likely this is last year's keeper. Man, they are inhaling the lures. Oh no, it's a keeper, right at 13. All right, so we've got 3 in the box. And the pattern that we established the first time is working this time. I mean, you just got to find the grass and kind of hop around. All right, y'all, that about does it. Now, I mentioned in the intro, my daughter had that stomach virus. Wouldn't you know? That caught up to me while I was on the boat. So obviously, sparing y'all the gory details of that. But it still was a great day. That lure switch really made all the difference. And I can say I went back to Hopedale a couple weeks after that, blew it away with that lure. So you can only find that on Joey's website. I'll put the link in the description. Other than that, of course, as always, family and friends first. If you like this, like and subscribe. And I will catch you later. See ya.